Hello and welcome back to another out-of-spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. I recently just posted a video comparing the Ryobi 1.8 to a little bit more premium, more expensive Active 2.0 pressure washer. And honestly, at the end of the day, the Ryobi 1.8 here is such a phenomenal pressure washer for the price point. It has pretty incredible GPM, overall flow, and just in general, overall cost effectiveness at actually washing your car at home. But from reading the comments in that video, a lot of you were very curious about the Greenworks Automotive 1.8, and also some of you actually preferred this over the Ryobi. So I actually picked one up here so we can do a head-to-head comparison test to figure out which one you should actually buy. Of course, you can just start looking at these things. Very different overall form factor, very different accessories between the two, but of course what we're really going to dive into today is the performance characteristics. Which one is quieter? Which one actually sounds better, if any difference whatsoever? Then of course we'll get into the PSI, flow testing, and current draw testing to see really which one you guys should actually pick up. So welcome back to the channel. Let's jump into it. Well, thank you all for being here today. As usual, absolutely love pressure washer testing filming day. I just love making these videos for you guys, nerding out. And arguably, I would say this is one of the most important pressure washer categories, that entry-level price point for actually washing our car. Now, I love things like the AR635, the new Active 3.0, the super high-flow pressure washers, but they're out of reach for a lot of people, and honestly, overkill for a lot of people that just want to wash their car at home. Now, both of these units I purchased with my own money to give you a completely unbiased review. By the end of the video, I'll be able to tell you which one of these you should actually purchase and which one I feel is overall a better value. They're very similar, but very, very different here. So I want to start off throughout this video by chapterizing this out. We're going to start off looking at the pricing and specs of this, looking at the accessories, comparing those, then getting into our actual performance testing, as well as at the end of this, give you my final conclusion. So starting over here with the Ryobi 1.8, this is the cheaper of the two here, retailing right at $169.99. Currently, you can get this on sale for $149.99. Over here on the Greenworks, retails at $219, currently on sale for $169.99. So definitely a difference in terms of price point here, which I do think is very important to understand. We're going to compare these MSRP to MSRP. So paying $50 more over here for the Greenworks versus the Ryobi. Now, both of these claim to have the same exact specs, 1.8 GPM, 1200 PSI, 15 amp circuit. I'm going to tell you, neither of these you're going to see 1.8 GPM at 1200 PSI. It's going to be lower than that. It's kind of their rated pressure, all of that stuff. We'll get into all the testing. I'll tell you though, still, these are both pretty darn impressive units when you actually put them through the paces here. So the big thing with both of these units, these are universal motors, very different from induction motors you'll see like in the Active 2.3, very different from the max flow pressure washers out there that'll have permanent magnet motors and many of the other stuff out there. These universal motors are great because they're inexpensive, but you also do sacrifice a little bit in terms of overall lifespan of them and the overall loudness. Now, these are what we consider sealed units. So if something goes wrong internally with these units, you can't fix them. Unfortunately, you pitch them in the trash, have to purchase another one. If you want to get something that you can actually do that, that's where the Active 2.0 comes in. You can actually change out the oil, you can change out the pump head on them, change micro switches, all that type of stuff to have a little bit more reliability over a longer period of time. But again, you're also paying for that. Now, first things first, comparing these units, number one, you can see a huge form factor difference here. The Ryobi is minuscule compared to the larger Greenworks over here. And that's where I think a point goes to the Ryobi here. I personally think of these units as not something necessarily that you're going to wall mount. Of course you can with these, but I think most people, what they're going to do with these is actually store them in a cabinet every time they want to wash their car, take it out, set up all your accessories, wash your vehicle, and put them away. For sure, the Ryobi, a little bit easier to maneuver, put away, but over here on the Greenworks, this is more kind of an all-in-one solution where you can actually mount your cable around the top handle here. You actually have an area over here to actually have your hose mounted to it. pressure washer gun goes on the back. You have an area for your lance. The only weird thing is they provide a foam cannon, nowhere to actually put that here on the unit. So definitely prefer the way the Ryobi is packaged overall here. But I think one of the biggest drawbacks with the Ryobi here is the accessories are not that great. We'll get into that over here on the Greenworks in a second. So the Ryobi, I think the best part of the accessory bundle here is the pressure washer gun. Is this my favorite? Absolutely not. There's no swivel on it, but it is a nice stubby nose pressure washer gun instead of one of those super long ones that are awkward. You've got the fitting in front of the actual trigger pull here. This is completely fine here. You also get a little lance with this. I'm not a huge lance guy, great to wash bigger trucks, family SUVs, things like that. I do actually like these pressure washer tips they come with. You get a 40 degree, 25 degree, 15 degree, slightly different sizing through those. I'll show you that in the performance testing of these. But these are nice because they're actually rubberized tips. They are a little on the hard side, so be careful, especially if you don't get this clicked into your quick disconnect on your gun. This becomes a projectile and likely is just going to spin, and it's still going to do damage to the paint. So a good, decent upgrade here, but nothing that I'm super impressed with. The drawbacks here are the foam cannon. Calling this a foam cannon, man, that's a massive stretch. This is really a foam blaster. Really unimpressive snow foam out of this thing. Just overall very cheap. This is an accessory. You get it, you throw it away, you actually buy something that's going to work. I personally recommend something like this Armor Detail Supply Drift Foam Cannon. This is a $45 foam cannon. Feels super high quality, quick disconnects on this. You can actually buy separate bottles. You can buy caps for the bottles. These things are absolutely amazing and really, really like them. But the biggest issue with the Ryobi is the stock hose that it comes with. And this is pretty traditional of what you see from big box store pressure washers. They really don't give you a great hose. Now it's a decent length. This is a 40-foot hose, but man, this is one of the worst hoses I have felt. So number one, you can absolutely kink this thing. Look at the memory you get in there. And that's one of the issues with this. So the inner diameter is small and it doesn't really have any sort of braiding in it. Once you start kinking that over and over and it's got all of that memory in it, the likelihood you're going to split this at one point mid-wash is going to be very high. So the hose is something I would absolutely upgrade immediately. I personally prefer something like the Uberflex hose here. So same M22 14mm fittings. You can, of course, screw that directly onto this. I always recommend getting something like this M22 14mm to 3/8 male fitting that goes on that side. And then of course you would need the female for this side. And then of course you're going to need it on the other side of the hose into the gun. So you'll need a little accessory bundle there. So the accessories that come with the Ryobi, not great in all honesty. I really wish they would sell this as a tool only version, skip the accessories, but again, given the price point, it's kind of at the point you can throw away the accessories, just buy the actual accessories you want. And again, roughly about 300 bucks, you're pretty much all in with a good gun, a good foam cannon, a good hose over here, and quick disconnects. Now, moving over here to the Greenworks, this is what I heard from you guys, is that you really preferred the accessories that came over here, and it was well worth the money over the Ryobi over here. Now, let's start off with the hose here, because that's one of my biggest gripes with the Ryobi. So this is a 40-foot rubber hose on the Greenworks here. This is definitely an upgrade, but yet again, I can completely kink this thing. Look at the memory you still have in that. So this to me is definitely not something I would run out and immediately go buy the Greenworks just solely based on the hose. Again, you're spending more money on the Greenworks here. So I'm not super into that. But next we come over to the foam cannon, which again was an issue over here on the Ryobi. And boy, oh boy, is this one of the cheapest foam cannons I've ever felt. Number one, just look at the lack of pride they have to actually put their label on here, even sort of straight. It's literally already bubbling, and I can just get my finger under this and start to peel it off. That's gonna fall off in 0.3 seconds. Now, the bottle on this, to be fair, nice and hard. It doesn't feel like it's going to crack and break. The weirdest thing about this, I tried to get some B-roll for you guys, next to impossible. Where my thumb here is, it says 1,000 milliliters. If I move my thumb up, it says 26 ounces. 1,000 milliliters is 33.8 ounces. How is 26 higher than 1,000 milliliters? So the dilutions on the side of the bottle, really not great. Now, this pretty traditional, like cheap foam cannons, has a twist off head on here. So we'll set the bottle aside. This dip tube on this, Again, has a ton of memory, just like the hose here. Really don't love that. Also, plastic pickup tube on this with very, very small holes inside of this. I'm very curious to see how much solution this will actually pick up. The head of this, of course, all brass inside of here. I do like that they have a 1/4 inch quick disconnect on here. You can pop this off, get your actual orifice out. It doesn't have a stamping on the actual orifice, so I'll be curious to see what that is. You of course have your dilution meter up here, no notches in it, and it looks like this is completely vertical. There is no going to horizontal. I personally don't think that's that big of a need. I know for a lot of you that is. So foam cannon, definitely better than the Ryobi, but man, I would say this feels not great. We'll definitely try this out. You of course do get a lance here, and the important thing here is it actually mounts on the back. Actually, I flip that back out and boom, goes right in the back. The other thing I want to check out here is the gun. Now, looking at this, it feels quite a bit cheaper than the Ryobi. It's quite a bit smaller as well. If you actually look at these side by side, the Ryobi is quite a bit bigger gun. I'll tell you, this feels a heck of a lot nicer than this thing over here. Number one issue with this for me, they have basically a molding that is split down the center of this, and it doesn't line up right where in between my thumb and index finger sit. It just digs right into my hand there. I am really not a fan of that. Trigger pull, to be fair, feels fine. This to me is not my preferred style of gun. This is more like the SGS 28 where it actually lays down. I prefer more of a 90-degree gun. If I hold my hand out here, where's that pressure washer going? It's going up. Now I have to crane my wrist down. Personally, just really don't like this angle. Feels very awkward for me. So the gun would definitely be something on the Greenworks I would immediately upgrade. For the Ryobi over here, I feel like you could absolutely get away with it. One thing I want to note here on the bottom is on our M22 14mm fitting, there is a ton of grease packed into here, which is very, very weird. Also, if I look at the actual outlet on the pressure washer here, our other M22 14mm fitting, very crusty, lots of minerals in here, which to me says that they are probably testing this unit out. So looking at the accessories here, interesting. Now you also do get a couple more things in here. Yikes. You do get some microfiber towels. These feel like the cheapest, worst quality microfiber towels I've ever felt. Would never recommend using these on your car. These might be fine on glass or, you know, using it at home to clean up mirrors or your shower door, something like that. Okay, cool. It comes with it, whatever. It comes with a chenille wash mitt. Not the highest quality thing out there. It does have these little crinklies in it, which I feel like would be a great cat toy, or two of my golden retrievers would love to play with this, with those crinkles inside of there. And then you also get this little dryer for your vehicle. I do not like these, and I really don't like this one. I don't know if you can see the actual warping in this thing. Very hard material. This is going to mar up the surface of your vehicle. Really, really don't like these. And again, I think some of the stuff here, not so impressed by. Last thing I want to show you here that comes with the unit is your pressure washer tips. And I gotta say, I do prefer these over the Ryobi ones. Number one, they're smaller. They're a lot softer. Comes with 40 degree, 25 degree, 15 degree. I'll do all the testing on that. So those do feel nice. But I gotta say, I'm not sure I would be running out to get the Greenworks for the accessories here. These are still very, very entry level feeling accessories, and yeah, for me, I personally would rather get the unit and upgrade all of the other accessories to it. So not absolutely loving that here. One other quick note I've also noticed here, I do prefer the on-off switch on the Ryobi here, how you can visibly see that it's actually on versus off. Because these have total stop start, you never know if they're actually on or actually off. And also, interestingly enough, the single button here on top of the Greenworks looks identical to the one on the MaxFlow units, which is interesting. So it's just a single button that depresses and not. I personally prefer this over here. So very interesting distinctions between this. I'm not blown away with either of the accessories here, but I will give points here to the Ryobi overall for the form factor. I personally prefer it over the Greenworks. So what do you say now we get into some performance testing, first starting off with how these things sound. All right, guys, so we're set up here. Why I'm laughing is I genuinely don't know how any of you wash a car with hoses like this without a swivel on this. I mean, it is just a twist fest 24/7, both of these hoses, especially the Greenworks, actually has a ton of memory in it. It just wants to coil up on itself. Hate the hoses on both of these, but I want to check out the noise performance here. I've got each of the guns hooked up. We're going to use each of the respective tips. So I first want to turn them on, see how that self-priming feature is on both of these, compare the noise. I have my microphone right on my chest here, so I want to hear what they sound like right next to them. Then I'll move across the shop and give you some feedback. So let's start off here with the Ryobi. All right, so quite high pitched, pretty typical from a universal motor there. Let's go to the Greenworks. So a lot deeper tone for sure. I really hate that squeak at the end. I hope it doesn't do that every single time. All right, let's start off here with the 40-degree Ryobi. I'll stand right next to it. Still getting some water through it. I purged these before. So recovers nicely. I would tell you the sound of it's interesting, and I remember this from the active test. Quite noisy standing here. It was a lot lower pitch actually than the active, and what's interesting is, you know, you don't wash a car standing right next to a pressure washer. You're, you know, 30 feet away at the back of the car, whatever it is. You might have this in the garage, maybe outside. This carries a lot less than things like the Active 2.0. So I know that's a big thing audibly wise for you guys that have neighbors. And again, I hate the hoses on these. So let's come over here to the Greenworks. Man, I will say this feels super, super lightweight, and I am not a fan of this hose. So let's hear what it sounds like. Look at that thing. Oh, it does it. Do you hear that right at the end? That, I hate that on pressure washers. I'm really surprised the size of the Greenworks here, how much it walks, and you can feel and hear that vibration in it. I hate that end noise. I really don't like the tone of this. I'm gonna face away from it. Ryobi. Ryobi is quieter, which is really interesting. This has definitely a deeper tone, a ton of vibration though. Let me move across the shop and give you guys some feelings on how these sound from over there. All right guys, so I'm about 25 feet away or so from the pressure washers now at the back of my shop. Now, of course, this is indoors here, but let's check out the difference starting with Greenworks. Not even close. The Ryobi is so much quieter. I'm laughing here because I'm watching these cords from the pressure washers literally self-tangle themselves. As you can see, I've got another tangle. I hate these hoses on these. The interesting thing here is what I hear from back here, the Greenworks carries a lot more. The Ryobi is quieter, but the tip inside of the Ryobi definitely makes a lot more noise. So I'm going to pull these out, and I also remember that actually from the Active 2.0 versus here. So let's see how the Greenworks sound with a normal 3.5. It's honestly, I'm surprised how, you know, from here, the Greenworks really isn't that bad. Let's go with Ryobi though. It's so much quiet. I can talk over it. I really can talk over that. That is pretty impressive. So again here, I would give the win in terms of noise performance, overall pleasant tone to the Ryobi over the Greenworks. Really don't like that that the Greenworks gets at the end. It has a deeper tone and it's not necessarily a pleasant tone. Let's give you one last one with the quieter tip. What do you guys prefer? Pretty interesting. So for our foam cannon test here, we've got the Ryobi, the Greenworks, the Armor Detail Supply Drift foam cannon. We've got the stock orifice. Actually, I don't even think you can change this. You can in the Greenworks, which is nice. And then the ADS, we've got a 1.25. For our soap today, DIY Detail Incredible Suds Type 2, 1 ounce per 1,000 milliliters of it. You can see exact same solution in all of these. So let's head over to the car and see which one works best. All right, so I want to use both pressure washers with all 3 foam cannons here. Again, same solution. Let's start off with the Ryobi on the Ryobi. pretty miserable. All right, guys, well, that was a pretty interesting test between both of these. I think you can clearly see the Greenworks has the upper edge in terms of the foam cannon that comes with it, but both of these produce great snow foam with pretty reasonable foam cannons. I gotta say, decently impressed with how the Greenworks performed here. I would say the Armor Detail Supply foam cannon with that 1.25 is, you know, we're splitting hairs to see any sort of difference here. What you're paying for is a better quality foam cannon with better overall features in general. The ability to be able to quick disconnect, better dip tube, all of that fun stuff plays into that. So definitely, you can absolutely get the job done with the Greenworks that comes with it. I would not say the same for the Ryobi, so point to Greenworks there. So next, let's get into some performance testing. For flow testing, it's pretty straightforward, but it takes a lot of time. So you can see this little kit I have over here. These are all my orifices for actually testing these units. Now, a couple of quick notes about how I test here at the shop. My voltage is 121.5. I am also using an active 5/16 hose. I know for a lot of you who think, oh, that's going to change your flow and all of that stuff. It actually doesn't. I'll leave a video linked in the description below. Going up in hose size does not change the performance on the unit, so keep that in mind here. The active 5/16 hose, I use an SGS 35 from MTM for my actual gun, and what we do is go through and record the PSI, the current draw, and the GPM for each orifice on each machine here, also including the stock orifices. Now, you guys are in for a treat because holy cow, these are so similar, it's not even funny. So let's dive into the data. All right, guys, so here is the data from our flow testing, and it is insane how unbelievably close these are. So I measured between a 2.5 and a 5.0 orifice on both units. I will show you the stock orifices here in just a second, as well as with a foam cannon. Personally, I think both of these units perfectly optimized for a 3.5 orifice. On the Ryobi side, giving us 1000 PSI, 12.05 amps at 1.69 GPM. On the Greenworks side, 1025 PSI, 12.9 amps at 1.69 GPM. Pretty wild. The interesting thing you'll notice throughout here, the Greenworks consistently pulls higher current than the Ryobi. Pretty interesting. Don't have really any preference there. We're still getting the numbers. It's still within the 15 amp range. I wouldn't be concerned about that. Opening up that orifice size to a 4.0 drops the PSI 100 on both of the units exactly. On the Ryobi side, 11.25 amps, 1.76 GPM. Very respectable there. On the Greenworks side, 900 PSI, 12 amps exactly, and 1.77 GPM. Very, very similar here. You are literally splitting hairs between these. Now, I personally would not recommend going to a 4.5 on either unit because you're getting in that 800 PSI realm, especially on lower flow units like this. I understand they say high flow, but on these, just way too light on the pressure in my impression, nor would I really recommend going up to a 3.0 orifice and closing that down. 1200 PSI really drops the GPM there. So personally think a 3.5 orifice is perfectly optimized here, and they achieve the same exact GPM. Now, looking at the stock orifices, this is also pretty darn interesting. So Ryobi side, 40 degree and 25 degree tips, measured out 3.4 orifice, 1025 PSI, 12.3 amps, 1.66 GPM. On the Greenworks side, the 40 degree and 25 degree, they don't have a stamping on here. I would guess this is somewhere around a 3.3 orifice, achieves 1100 PSI, 13.4 amps, 1.65 GPM. So darn similar. Same thing pretty much goes for both 15 degree tips. You can see they actually open it up and our PSI goes down to 825 PSI on the Ryobi side, 850 PSI on the Greenworks side, both of them achieving over 1.8 GPM, which is good, but again, not 1200 PSI at 1.8. Now, looking at the foam cannons here, the stock foam cannon on the Greenworks with the orifice that it comes with, 1000 PSI, 12.5 amps, plenty of headroom there, well under 15 amps, love to see that. Now, also changing to an Armor Detail Supply foam cannon with a 1.25 millimeter orifice on the Greenworks side, 1150 PSI, 13.9 amps. Cool there, happy with that. On the flip side, the Ryobi pulling almost entire amp less, 1100 PSI, 12.81 amps. Now I did test both of these with a 1.1. Technically they both work, but they both actually sputter. So I would personally not go under a 1.25 on either of these, but it is actually insane how close the performance is between the two of these. I mean, they are virtually identical when it comes to performance. So with that, I will tell you, there is really no difference to rinsability with these. I tested both of them back to back. Subjectively, I could feel no difference. The data tells me exactly that here, and I'm glad to know that I do have somewhat of a feel for pressure washers. Well, guys, those are some pretty comparable results there. I mean, I have never really seen two closely matched pressure washers like this out there. I mean, they are, you know, very, very close in price point here, different accessories, different size, form factor. But I think if you've watched to this point in the video, you pretty much know my recommendation, and it is, of course, going to be the Ryobi 1.8. I personally don't think spending the extra money for the Greenworks really gets you anywhere more. I don't think the accessories are worth the extra money they're asking for this particular unit. Okay, compare them sale to sale, maybe you can get it there. I really dislike the hose. I really dislike the pressure washer gun. I'd prefer to see you guys spend less money on this and then upgrade everything. Get a better hose, get quick disconnects, get a foam cannon, get a different pressure washer gun that actually has a swivel on it. That is really going to change your experience rather than going to this unit. And again, going back to noise performance, I personally think the Ryobi sounds way better than the Greenworks over here. I love the form factor of this, especially for those of you who are setting up and tearing down your pressure washer every single time. I'm not really sure why you'd go with the Greenworks over the Ryobi, unless it's just a brand thing, you don't like Ryobi. That's totally fine. But both are really awesome pressure washers. And again, the cool thing here is I love playing around with this stuff because this is what you guys use at home. I also love playing around with stuff like that, like the super crazy off the wall stuff that not everybody gets to play around. But I think at the end of the day, what's impressive is how far we've come in the pressure washer industry. I remember 5-6 years ago when I got my Krenzla K1322 TS, I was just like in awe of the thing, like, oh my gosh, 1.9 gallons per minute at 1,000 PSI, but the damn thing was over $1,000. We're here getting pretty close. It's not quite there, but getting very, very close to those numbers at sub $200 price point. And that to me is freaking awesome. So at the end of the day, both these units will be in the link in the description below, as well as all the accessories I recommend for a budget friendly pressure washer setup. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in another one soon. Bye-bye.